Retard Alert! Retard Alert, class! Do you believe in a flying spaghetti monster too, Bubblehead?
I wasn't talking about spaghetti.
Come on, you're gonna have to sit in the dunce chair.
Now, before I even start the video today, I know that people are already gonna take offense with me using the word retarded a lot. That's okay. I'm gonna be using the word retarded as it is defined in the Merriam-Webster dictionary. Here it is. That's how I'm gonna be using it. It's not because I'm not saying anyone has a genetic disorder. I'm saying that you are just mentally slow. Moving on, let's talk about some actual retarded shit. Now, I've done some retarded shit in my life. I have done some retarded shit. I have said some retarded shit. But most disgustingly and disturbingly is that I have done and said some retarded shit and then posted it on the internet. Specifically on YouTube.
Retard Alert!
I'm not gonna get like overly hyped like some people do with video games, but it could beat Uncharted 4 for Game of the Year.
If they don't cut costs, and if they just give you the full-on Microsoft Xbox experience, then it will be a $700 to $800 console.
What?
But what GQ has done is just irredeemable. It takes the cake. Now, the titles of the articles that we are going to look into today sound like they have been written by a child who can now curse because no adult is supervising them. That's how bad some of the articles are going to be today. Now, hold on. I got some articles here for you. I don't remember every single article off the top of my head, but I will be reading a lot of them to you. Now, here's one of the articles. The best video game genre for a grown-ass man, because just being a man isn't good enough. They have to put in a grown-ass man. Holy shit! Louis C.K. made a secret movie. The movie probably wasn't that secretive to the people who made it. And finally, should a grown-ass man care about Final Fantasy 15? Now, GQ, the problem is, when you write articles like that, when you have titles like that, it's hard for me to take these articles, these titles very seriously. It's very hard. I mean, it doesn't show any depth to your vocabulary. I mean, be a little bit loquacious from time to time. Help me help you. Because right now, I just can't take you seriously. Speaking of not taking you seriously, this whole problem, the article titles are just the outer shell, just the beginning, just the intro, to the outer shell, to the inner shell of the problems that GQ has had with some of their articles. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we're about to dive in. I hope you have fun. I hope you are entertained. Let's get into this. In the journalistic classic, should a grown-ass man care about a Nintendo Switch? You have a Nintendo of America representative, I think her name is what's her name? Krista Yang. Miss Yang is talking about how the Nintendo Switch will lift the limitations off of consoles as a whole. She's talking about how, she's pretty much kind of throwing jabs at previous consoles in the sense that they are only being able to be played here at home, at consoles. And she's talking about how the Nintendo Switch can be taken on the go, on the mobile. Talking about pretty much the reason why to buy a Nintendo Switch. Now, the interesting thing is that the interviewer in question, his conclusion to her information, his resolution is so asinine, so absurd, because I understood exactly what she is saying, but according to the GQ interviewer, he was probably thinking about snacks. Snacks! I mean, just look at his response. You're not reading that wrong. His actual response to her talking about how the Nintendo Switch will lift the limitations off of consoles is that it is comparable to pizza.
What?
How? How is the Nintendo Switch comparable to pizza? Pizza! The food! Not the food! I mean, A Nintendo Switch is a metal box. A pizza comes in a cardboard box. Nintendo Switches can play video games. A pizza you eat for sustenance and nutrition. Maybe not nutrition, but you eat because you get hungry. I don't understand how he can come to the conclusion of saying, you know what, the Nintendo Switch is a pretty versatile video game console. It has the ability to not only be played at home on the big screen on your TV, but also it can be taken on the go in its portable version, in the tablet form. I don't know how he concludes that it's like a goddamn pizza. This is the retarded shit that I was talking about. But we're not done, ladies and gentlemen. This is just the icing on the cake. This is just the top of the pyramid. We're about to go down to the depths. We're about to go exploring. We're about to go and look at the foundation, the bottom of GQ's horrible, just horrible articles on video games. Now, we have here the foundational, the bottom of the bottom. Everything that leads up to everything that's wrong about their articles about video games. I don't know anything about men's fashion. I will be the first to admit that. But I will say one goddamn thing first. I know my video games. I know a lot about video games. The problem, the foundational problem with GQ is that they are incompetent as it pertains to video games. Now, I have been incompetent when it comes to video games, but I've learned, I've gotten better, and I've done my research, I've done my homework, I've worked hard. Because if I became incompetent about my video games, I would be untrustworthy. I wouldn't be able to actually give you information as the viewer as it pertains to video games. Because I'm incompetent and I'm unreliable. GQ is incompetent, unreliable, and just a horrible source to get your information and facts about video games. And they're a goddamn magazine. But we're going to get into this. Let me explain to you what I mean. Now, in the fantastic article, entitled Overwatch is the shooting game for people who are bad at shooting games. I'm not going to get into why that's a problem and what is wrong with that article title to begin with. All I'm just going to get into is the article and specifically a paragraph within the article that just shows how incompetent GQ is as a magazine as it pertains to covering video games. Now, the problem is, there is this one section where in the article, it's talking about 4 heroes. Hanzo, Roadhog, Zarya, and Mercy. The problem is, for starters, he groups Zarya in with Mercy. Now, if you have no idea what Overwatch is and how Overwatch is played, Overwatch has a bunch of different heroes and characters that you can play that all do different things. Like you have DPS, you have tanks, you have supports. He groups in a tank class with a support class. Well, why is that important? Well, on screen, you're seeing Zarya. She can bubble her teammates. She can use her Graviton Surge to create a black hole that sucks in enemies. She can also bubble herself. She can protect her teammates by giving them shields, by giving them barriers. And she can also protect herself by doing the exact same thing.
Get in there!
The difference between her and a support type of champion is that a support type of champion can heal their teammates from damage. If they get injured, they can go to a Mercy to get healed. That is the difference. And that is a fundamental difference. That is a base level difference. You can't even argue that they didn't even know that the difference was that astronomical. Because the differences are astronomical, by the way, between tanks and supports. The differences are huge. You can't even argue, well, this is a hard concept to understand, 24. This is something that not a normal gamer would understand. If you go to their goddamn website, if you go to Activision and Blizzard's website, if you go to their hero section, if you go to the defense section of their website, Zarya pops up as one of the defensive heroes in the game, along with Reinhardt, Roadhog, Zarya, D.Va, and Orisa. If you go to the support heroes, you'll find all of the support heroes, including, by the way, Mersing, and an absentee from the support hero class is, oh, I don't know, Zarya. It's incompetence. But we're going to get into more examples. Hanzo, the author of the article, says is a defense hero. He is in the defense tree. I will give him that. But this is basic playing and basic understanding of the game. And I get it. I get the game was released a year ago. I get that the game has changed. I get that Hanzo and Roadhog are different champions now. But the function that they had during November of 2016 is pretty similar to the function that they still have, except for Roadhog, because he can't one-shot people. Hanzo can still one-shot people if he gets a headshot in a fully charged arrow. The thing about Hanzo is that he's not necessarily going to wait for you to come to him and for you to snipe him, because he can be very, very mobile, exactly like a Widowmaker. He's not necessarily a defense champion, because even back then, if you played Hanzo on, let's say, Hollywood, on an attack version of the map, you can be very, very effective with Hanzo on Hollywood. The same thing kind of goes with the same thing cannot be said with a defense hero like Torbjorn, because Torbjorn, if you play him on attack, you will get laughed at. The other team will be like, Torbjorn on attack? That's hilarious. They'll laugh in your face as they kill you over and over and over again, as you fail to push past the choke in Hollywood. The same thing can be said about Roadhog. If tanks do not draw attention. Tanks absorb damage with their shields and with their increased amount of health. Tanks naturally have the most amount of health in the game, so that way they can withstand the most amount of shots. Most tanks also have a way to protect themselves on the other team. And their team. Roadhog, for example, has the maximum amount of health that you can have on a single champion in the game. He also has a very, very good heal. He used to be able to one-shot people with his hook into primary fire. That's not the case. It's like alternate fire into hook into alternate fire, or hook or alternate fire into hook into primary fire. The point is, even back then, Roadhog was a one-shot, one-hit champion, and he was also an alternate battery, an ultimate battery. You could charge your ult off of Roadhog. This is basic things that you understand when you play the game. Understanding that Roadhog, his hook back then was pretty easy to avoid. It had some, it could be thrown through walls, but it was still pretty easy to hit and to avoid. The problem is, he does not understand the base level foundation of the game. And it's evident in this article. It's evident in a lot of articles. And my point is that if you are incompetent, and this goes back to when I was at the beginning of the segment, and I was talking about how if my opinion is not credible, if I'm not credible, if I'm incompetent, I'm not credible, and you will eat me alive in the comment section below. If I'm not a credible source of information towards you, and I've proven that GQ is not a credible source, I'm misleading you. I'm misguiding you. I'm giving you misinformation. And that is exactly what this guy is doing. This author, GQ, the magazine, when it pertains to video games, they don't know what they're talking about. Because let's just take the Overwatch example. Either he didn't play the game and he had someone else give their opinion on the game who did not know what they were talking about, or he just misconstrued some information. Specifically as it pertains to the Zarya, he had a typo, and I'll let that slide, but that doesn't understand his clear lack of understanding for both Hanzo and Roadhog as it pertains to champions during November of last year. And by the way, these two champions play very similarly to what they play today. Roadhog does not play how he plays today, but him being an ult battery and being able to avoid his hook was still prevalent back then. It wasn't like his hook it wasn't like a Graviton Surge where if you had a diva, you could just block it. You could avoid Roadhog's hook if you took up really, really good positioning and if you didn't get caught out. Like, I don't know what to tell you, GQ. You're incompetent. You know what? It's a mystery that GQ, for some weird reason, still thinks that they are a credible source of information about video games. Because, and you can maybe say, well, 24, they don't think that. Well, they're still creating articles about video games. So yes, they still think they are.